Hi.
Hey guys, we're back.
Or
you guys know
not.
me, Joey. We're back at you with some new Stranger Things theories. You might remember Harold.
Will Byers has cancer. Yeah. I still agree with myself.
But other than those original theories we've come up with a couple new ones for y'all. Thanks to this Entertainment Weekly, not sponsored, Entertainment Weekly article detailing a lot of the new details of Stranger Things Season 2. Check out that hair, though. Check out that hair. Millie Bobby Brown killing it with the curly hair. Looks like somebody I know. So we'll start off this thing with everybody's favorite girl, 11. So what do you...
Not my favorite doctor. Anyway...
No, not mine either.
So 11, we have the last thing that we've seen of her, of course, from season 1 is she kind of explodes, but kind of doesn't explode, and then Hopper is dropping Eggos into a tiny little box.
Let go.
Let's
So
see.
we all kind of assumed she'd be coming back for season 2, but in what capacity we don't really know.
You see, we're not really exactly sure whether it would be a consistent basis or if it would be a one-off, but based on the Duffer Brothers and what they've been saying on that Entertainment Weekly,
Enough annoying, yeah.
the Duffer Brothers have said that she will be coming back in a full capacity, and that kind of made sense, especially if we keep looking at the universe of Stranger Things as a giant game of D&D. And in the event that's the case, and in the event that's true, then that little box that Hopper's putting all of those Eggos into, that might come really into purpose. I'll explain later.
So basically what they're saying is we're not sure. They haven't said much, of course, because why give all the details up front. She will come back in some capacity. We will see Millie Bobby Brown as 11 on screen in Stranger Things Season 2. Whether she's back on Earth, who knows where she is, really. The Duffer Brothers said they do have a definite plot line they're going to explore with 11. Maybe some more of her past, how she got to this point. Maybe explore some of her powers and then sort of lead you into where she might be and how she might come back if she does. So, going back to the Dungeons and Dragons whole bit.
If you haven't figured it out yet, and you probably have because you're very intelligent people, Dungeons and Dragons is a huge thing in this season, and not even just in this season, but in this entire universe. In fact, the first game that we see the boys play literally just reveals and plays out as it goes.
They begin the season and end the season with the game.
Now, if that's the case, then if the first one mattered in the first season, then the second one will probably matter somewhat in the second season. Or at least is what we can guess. And of course, the little monster they have down for thessalhydra with the multiple heads and whatnot they show off. You see, the end season of that Super Bowl shot, that end scene of that Super Bowl shot, kind of looks a little bit giant Hydra-esque.
Possibly. I mean, you don't really know. Which obviously the Demogorgon wasn't the Demogorgon from the game. It looked kind of different.
It did look a
It's
bit
not going to be a true to life replication of the character or the little sprite that they use in the game.
But that also being taken into consideration before we go into anything further, we do find out from Entertainment Weekly that Dustin is going to be getting a little bit of a familiar, kind of.
Which also plays upon one of the titles they gave us early on, a couple months ago. There's an episode called The Polywog, and that's what Dustin is going to be getting. So if you don't know what a polywog is, I suggest you Google it. But a quick little description is basically just...
Tiny little toad creature which attacks humans.
Basically.
Yeah.
And apparently Dustin is going to be sort of buddies with him, as far as we know.
As far as Dustin said, actually.
Yeah, as far as Gaten Matarazzo.
The actor himself.
Adorable, lovable, infectious Gaten Matarazzo.
Yeah, kind of stealing every single moment of screen time he shows up in, which is...
I follow him on
great.
Instagram. He's great. That whole cast is great. All those kids are fantastic. They're super talented.
Exactly. Now, the one thing I have to say about like our own ideas, and you can call me crazy, again, feel free, I saw. The one thing that I can say about this is that in the event that there's a temporal portal in D&D, in the event a bag of holding, a true bag of holding which is infinite in its contents, goes into a temporal portal, that temporal portal explodes, destroying one of the two universes attached to it. Is that going to happen this season? Most likely not. I'm not saying that. But I'm just
season 2.
But I'm just saying the fact is that there is a giant monster on screen, and they're going to need a very big force to get that monster out. Could it be a thermo explosion, essentially, based on something going into the wrong portal? Feasibly, but I don't want to put too much stock into it. What I would like to put stock into is, since we know that this is D&D, since we know that they are like D&D characters, they're going to keep leveling up. In the event that they actually are going to be a mage, a warlock, a mage, a ranger, a dwarf, and an actual... I guess there is no fourth character, seeing as though the DM is Michael himself.
Mm-hmm.
If that is going to be the case, when we lose a wizard, we legitimately gain 11, who is essentially a real wizard, using force powers from the White Wolf concepts and how force works. So, with that being said, and it's kind of long now, these characters are growing the way that an actual D&D cast would, which would tend to mean that something's probably bound to happen, that we're going to get an upgrade for the kids.
And I think we already saw that kind of happening with Will almost right from the get-go. Right from the minute the game ends, he casts Fireball, misses. Demogorgon catches him, but one of the initial scenes with him when they're going home, he passes by, I believe it's Dustin's house, or maybe it's Lucas's, and the lights flicker.
Actually, that even happens before that. The lights flicker the moment that Will comes out of the actual...
This is true.
The lights flicker right as Will comes out of Michael's garage, which was actually my first thing that kind of put me towards my Will Byers has cancer idea, was the fact that the Demogorgon was watching Will Byers from the moment the Demogorgon stepped out of the actual... Demogorgon stepped out of the actual housing that it had. Will had always been watched. It's also the reason why 11, when she sees the picture of Will, realizes, oh, this is it. Now, we could say that this is 11 watching the boys and learning about them beforehand, but that makes no sense because 11 doesn't seem to know them afterwards. She just knows Will. And if she just knows Will, then that means the Demogorgon somehow knows Will. And if they're connected, and the last scene we see of Will is him disappearing, and the first scene we see of 11 is her in a hospital gown, looking kind of like a cancer patient.
They even mention it.
Just saying.
Going back on his original theory, there's so many other things happening in Season 2. We're going to see new characters.
Yes, Billy and Max.
The siblings, Max. All the boys are going to have a crush on Max. Lucas and Dustin apparently are going to have sort of little cat crushes on Max. And her brother is going to be sort of a bully.
Yeah.
Putting it simply, we don't know to what capacity.
I mean, the way that they put it was a Stephen King-esque bully. And in the event that we're going to look back to Stephen King's It, or any other Stephen King novels that deal with, like, the Dark Tower and Jake trying to deal with the bullies inside of his school before he's pushed in front of a bus by the technically by Roland or the Man in Black, before any of that even happens, we can see that if we are going to have a Stephen King-esque bad guy as a human character, it's going to be worse than any of the villains that we actually see. And that is simply because it's more true to life than all of the actual supernatural stuff that we get.
I mean, we all know how the Duffer Brothers, what they're doing with Stranger Things is turning a lot of the old 80s paradigms and cliches sort of on their heads, and they're, warping them, they're turning them inside out.
Carrie's the good guy.
Yeah, sort of. Basically. So, we're going to see a lot more of that. I think there's going to be a lot more references, a lot more, maybe even a slight tone shift. It might be a lot
especially with a year
darker, possibly.
Especially with a year gone on, and the boys now older and more able to understand what's going on around them, and the possibilities and problems that they've had in the past, and Will having to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as dealing with the fact that his father is non-existent and only tried to use and come back to his life so that way he could take all of the money that they had on him for life insurance. With all of that, you're going to be seeing guaranteed some darker themes. And in the event Joyce is going off and actually getting a date, which she is, we might also have to deal with the fact that we're watching Will and his brother deal with Joyce dating for probably based on how they're acting the first time since the father left.
So all that's happening. Nancy and Jonathan, and we don't know where they are right now. Nancy and Steven were together at the end of season 1. Jonathan, I guess I feel like there's sort of going to be a trio in some respects. There's going to be lingering feelings. There's going to be some tension. But I think it's going to stay very friendly and very sort of a camaraderie between the three of them.
I mean, Steve did kind of make himself known to be a little bit better than we thought he was initially.
Yeah, he sort of redeemed himself towards the end, even though he was still a little bit of a coward. But I really love Steve's character progression. He wasn't generally a bad guy. He was just sort of he was a teenager. He's sort of a douchebag. He's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just sort of a dick. But I think after they've been through this thing together, I think they're going to grow a little closer. I really hope they keep things platonic between Nancy and Jonathan. Personally.
I'd ship that.
I think they're just better as, they work together well as a team without any of the sexual weirdness.
It's already there, though. I mean,
it was, but then when things came down to business...
That's true. They did it down to business.
Which
is what all good relationships need.
I think it works better that way, at least from my personal experience. And then we have beautiful soul, courageous, fantastic, one of a kind, Chief Hopper. He's doing his thing. He's taking control. He is the town leader, pretty much, for the most part. He's answering questions, taking names. He's become his own little X-Files within his own self. There's really nobody else involved except the kids and Joyce.
How do we cover up Barb's death and also everyone else's problems?
Well,
has to fall to somebody.
They did say, you thought I was going to say Barb. They did say that Barb, her whole situation was going to be addressed since they didn't get to do that in season 1. So hopefully we see...
my kids are gone. I wonder what's going on.
Apparently there's going to be something... I mean, it all happened so quickly.
But they're...
And she wasn't the focus, but we only saw her mom. So they're going to have some focus on Barb. I have a feeling she's going to come back in some weird capacity. I feel like the fan reaction was so strong. I think the Duffer Brothers are going to do some fan service. Maybe it'll just be like a funeral or some kind of memorial thing, like a year later for Barb. I feel like I could see them doing that. Nancy sort of organizing sort of a memorial remembrance thing a year later. And then I feel like maybe everybody's going to be a little bit more in tune with the Upside Down. Possibly.
I mean, we definitely see Will being more in tune with the Upside Down, but the question is, of course, and as the Duffer Brothers bring up, whether or not it's really happening or if it's really true. Will we see Will kind of shifting in between the Upside Down and the actual regular world, or will we just kind of see him dealing with the, once again, problems of post-traumatic stress disorder where he believes he's there when he's not? That kind of goes with the concept of regular psychiatric issues that come with post-traumatic stress disorder and reliving the actual problems that come up. Or he's dealing with the fact that he was just in radiation for the past, I don't know, few weeks, but actually almost a week. But for him,
hallucinations, sickness, it causes so much. It changes who you are, really.
And unfortunately, you know that firsthand.
And I think Will is gonna. I think he's not gonna be sort of the. Even if he is sick, I don't know if he's gonna be sort of the laid-back, fragile boy that we knew in season 1. I feel like he's going to be a little bit more keen on things. He's going to sort of look at things with sort of a little bit of a cynicism, a little skeptic. I think he's going to be a little rough around the edges. Not totally, because he has his friends, but I feel like he's seen some shit.
That would be some pretty good character growth for Will.
So I think he's going to be a little bit more developed. He's going to be a little bit... He's not going to take, the bullying or anything. He's not going to stand for it because... He's been in this other dark, evil, cold dimension, and it's just not what is Earth to that? Like what is this? But then again, they're gonna introduce the themes of things that is the Upside Down. But is there worse shit in our reality? Is it darker here? Is there worse things in I guess the upside down or our reality.
The right,
we might be
the right side up.
We might be there. We're there upside down, technically, I guess.
Yeah.
So
that's how coins work.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I kind of annoyed about that we're not getting anything on, we keep getting stuff from Dustin, we keep getting stuff from Mike, we keep getting stuff from Will, we keep getting stuff from Eleven, we keep getting stuff from Hopper, we keep getting stuff from Nancy, and John, and even Joyce. What the heck is happening with Lucas? Like, he's arguably the most badass character. It's a normal human in the entire, first season. Where is he in season 2? Do we see him in the pictures? Yes, we do. We see him as a group member of the group. However, arguably his father's a Vietnam War vet who's, completely into the concept of fighting the enemy you can see. And that was his entire point throughout the entire first season. His growing point of seeing Eleven as, even though she's supernatural, as this a person who is true to herself and true to her friends, a great character arc and a great story arc for him. But what happens now? Why are we getting nothing on him?
I think that's exactly what he is. I think Lucas is defined already. I think he's the guy that keeps everybody grounded.
Who he is.
His role.
But the thing is that he also causes a bit of chaos. And because of that, I want to know what's going on with him. Also, the fact he's the only black character we have in the entire series. I want to know how he's dealing with everything that's going on in the 1980s with being the only kid there, and that's it.
And the Midwest.
And it's the Midwest.
And the only glimpse we get of his parents are at Will's funeral.
And that's it. And because of that, I want to know more about him. I want to know more of his story, because he needs to have it. And it's kind of crazy that he doesn't.
Unless they're building up to that. I know the thing, we'll end it on this note, the Duffer Brothers said that they're willing to go to 4 or 5 seasons and then giving it a definitive end.
Which, back to D&D, is a perfect standard campaign. And if that's the case, then by season 5, we should see an entirely geared up, ready to face the world cast. And if that's the case, does it suddenly become Stephen King's It? Which we have a lot of allusions to. Or is it then just an entirely new, almost superhero movie with humans and one really, really awesome explosion of a girl? 17-year-old 11?
I think 11 will come back season 3, maybe. Might come back later. They might figure out how to bring her back. We'll see.
We'll see. But the end result is, we can only hope.
So thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. Let us know what you think. Share your theories with us, please.
Yell at me. I don't care.
Yell at him like you did in the last video. If you haven't watched that one, go watch that one.
If you really want me to explain how it makes any sense whatsoever, I'll do that in an entire other video. But for right now, enjoy.
So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you got this far in the video, if you watched the whole thing, please comment below.
If he hasn't cut this up into small things.
Lego my ego in the comments below if you got this far. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. There'll definitely be more Stranger Things videos coming out as soon as closer the show comes out.
Yes.
It's Halloween.
Oh my god.
See you guys later.
Psh.